Good afternoon, or whatever. Hey, let's check out some AoS 4 terrain leaks or spoilers or whatever you want to call them. I have not seen these yet myself. I just got home from work. I figured this was a good time to sit down and talk about some Age of Sigmar stuff. So let's do that. Thanks to my patrons Panda and Sproul. Why Baron makes good art. Instagram below. Baron of Dice is a sponsor of the channel. Buy dice from them. They have good dice. Use code MDG to support the channel. And hey, I'm revamping my Patreon. So I have a few tiers now. There's a $2 a month tier, and you could just buy me a cup of coffee. That'd be sick. Cup of coffee a month. not, let's be real. Not even a cup of coffee. That's pretty cool. And if you do, you get your name in the thanks. You get a special role in Discord. There's also a channel in Discord that is just for patrons that you come check out. For $5 at a $5 tier, I can also sit down with you and go over some lists. You got an upcoming tournament and you want some input or whatever. You want to sit down for a bit and talk about like lists or like a general Q&A for like a little bit. That's cool. Hit me up. And for our $10 boss tier, I'll actually go into Tabletop Simulator with you and sit down and talk about deployment or get some practice or talk about lists or kind of whatever you want. I'm also going to start streaming, so it's going to be a very, very, very busy summer. It's going to be a very, very busy summer. Okay, so here we go. We have the so literally first time I'm seeing this. Don't know what this is going to be. You're going to have to think on my feet, which is fine. Oops. So create battlefields worth fighting over with the updated terrain rules for #new AoS. The new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar reworks, tweaks, and updates all sorts of rules. Everything from how war scrolls look to how you fight battles, and how wizards and priests conjure magic and invoke their deities has changed. The terrain that decorates your battlefield has also changed, making them easier to include and play around in your games. Well, that's good, because right now, the terrain rules are kind of a mess. Nobody really cares about the actual terrain rules themselves, right? Like, nobody really, rolls for terrain rules. It's because it only matters if it's arcane, and if it's not arcane, nobody cares. And if one player has arcane and them don't, it creates like an imbalanced table, right? And that's not cool. It's like, hey, guess what? Just because of luck, you get +1 to cast, and I don't. That sounds sweet. So, also the rules about like how models actually sit on terrain features is kind of crazy, right? Like, it's this idea where you have a mega boss on Maw-Krusha, and he's going to sit on a 1-inch wide pillar that goes up 5 inches off the table. Like, it's not very well defined, and the terrain rules are kind of trash, let's say, right now. Carrying on, you'll find conditions for visibility and moving over terrain in the core rules, and it's all simple and intuitive. Models can clamber and vault over terrain features that are 1 inch or less in height with no penalty at all. Cool. Any move over terrain taller than 1 inch must count the vertical distance as part of their move. Units and models can no longer finish a move mid-climb, but they can now choose to jump down from terrain features instead of climb, landing on a lower level or on the floor. This ends the move. Interesting. Sylvaneth artwork looking real good. What is that, Dark Oath? Or is that Cities? It's Cities. Cool. Any model, from the lowest clan rat to the most imposing reclusian, can hide from another's line of sight by hunkering down behind terrain. This is important for combat range because you're only in combat if you're both within combat range and visible to the opponent. You cannot charge units lurking behind solid walls. So this is different, I feel, from 3rd edition. I think in 3rd edition, visibility is not a requirement. The Terrain Advanced Rules module features more in-depth rules, including a table with the 5 universal abilities that define what your scenery pieces do in-game. Universal terrain abilities. Each terrain feature has one or more of the following passive abilities. Cover. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attack that target a unit that is behind or wholly on this terrain feature, unless that unit charged or has the fly keyword. Cool. So they're just, I like this, right? Because they're adding this keyword sort of thing. So it's like, well, does it have the fly keyword? If it does, then you ignore cover. Because they're up in the air and they just see over cover and it doesn't matter. Like, I like that. That's cool. It's very clear and easy to understand. -1, unless it has this specific keyword. There's no room for confusion, or unless it charged, right? Like, you don't get cover if you charged. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target a unit that is behind or wholly on this terrain feature. Right, so if you charge at something, right, like, yeah, that's fine. Impassable. Models cannot move across, be set up on, or and moves on any part of this terrain feature. Okay, that's simple. This is impassable. Okay, you can't land, be part of it. You have to go around it. Okay. Obscuring. A unit cannot be targeted by shooting attacks if it is behind or wholly on this terrain feature, unless it has the fly keyword. So this is better than cover, right? You can't be targeted. It's not -1 to hit, right? And it's mostly like cover, I guess, works in melee, right? I guess. But obscuring is like you can't see through it. So, for example, the Sylvaneth Wildwoods will probably have the obscuring keyword. Place of Power. Heroes within 3 inches of this terrain feature can use the Activate Place of Power ability. Well, I hope they tell us what that is, although this might be contingent on the battle plan, right? It might be features of different battlefields where it's like, well, we have, you know, you have to put up 2 terrain features that have this Place of Power keyword, and then they have specific abilities that they do, right? Heroes within 3 inches of this terrain feature can do what it says on the war scroll of the terrain feature or whatever, or that's on the battle plan. I mean, that's cool. This again is, I think, really good design because it's like it's wide open. It says you can use the Place of Power ability, and then, you know, rules writers, map designers can, army designers, like with faction terrain, can put down whatever they want as this ability, right? Whatever that means to activate the Place of Power ability. Unstable. Models can move across, but cannot be set up on or end any type of move on any part of this terrain feature that is more than 1 inch tall. So it's like you can't end your move on it, right? You can go over it, but you can't stop on it. That's cool, right? Because you have impassable where you can't do any of that. You have unstable where it's like you can go over it, but you can't stop on it. You have cover, you have obscuring. Like, it looks cool to me, man. This is greatly simplified from the previous system and focuses on clear codification that's fair for both players. Cover offers your units a modicum of protection unless they're fresh off a charge or flapping around in the air, and there's no restrictions on how far behind a piece of intervening terrain a unit needs to be to benefit. This is different, I think, from third. Because I know that with the Wildwoods, right, it's like there has to be like 3 inches of the Wildwood before it stops line of sight. So whatever. Impassable and obscuring terrain presents challenges for movement and visibility on the battlefield, while unstable terrain is commonly applied to anything from ruins to debris. You may clamber over it to reposition, but you can't end a move on it, so you don't need to worry about trying to balance your miniatures on irregular terrain. You may, however, end your move on sections of the terrain that are under 1 inch tall. You may, however, end your move on sections of the terrain that are under 1 inch tall. So you can sort of end on the edges of it, I guess, right? That's okay. Places of Power provide an action that lets your heroes tap into arcane energies, unlocking their casting, chanting, dispelling, and banishing potential at the risk of being overwhelmed by energy and suffering mortal damage. So is this just the new arcane? I guess we'll have to find out. I guess this is supposed to be a place of power. With some Stormcast Eternals. Looks cool. Okay, start of any turn. Activate Place of Power. Declare. Pick a friendly hero within 3 inches of any place of power to use this ability. Effect. Roll a die. On a 1, inflict D3 mortal wounds to the hero. On a 2-up. So on a 2-up. If that hero is a wizard or priest, add 1 to casting rolls or chanting rolls for that hero this turn. Okay. If that hero is not a wizard or priest, you can use the Unbind or Banish manifestation ability this turn as if they had Wizard 1. That's cool. I like it, first thought. Let's think about it for a sec. So there's no more just arcane terrain. Now it's a 2-up. I don't like that. And you also can choose not to bother activating it. So let's say that you're a wizard and you're close to this piece of terrain. You can and you have 1 wound remaining, let's say. You can just choose not to activate it. right? As opposed to just always getting the bonus. You can just be like, well, I'm just going to leave this alone. And so it's like, I guess it kind of depends on the battle plans. At least you're not rolling for terrain features individually. If you remember from when we saw some battle plans before, it actually showed on the map where we're going to put terrain and what rules those terrain pieces have. So I think this is going to be a little bit more annoying for people trying to set up their tables at home, because you need to have a more wide variety of terrain features, right? If it says like, put a terrain feature that has a place of power in the middle of the battlefield, well, it can't be a wall now, right? It has to be something that represents this place of power, right? So I think that'll be a little bit more challenging for people just like having terrain in their homes. And it's like, if it says it's unstable, it needs to be ruins or something, right? So, but again, this is a module, so all the casual players, all the narrative players can just ignore this and just put terrain wherever they like. And I mean, so can you when you're playing just with your friends or whatever, right? But I do like how they took this, what is it called? Heroic willpower, and they just turned it into this, which is cool. It's like, you don't have any wizards. Okay, you can go fight over this this place of power, and there's always as long as you have a hero, there's always a way to get rid of manifestations, right? So I like that. Start of any turn, right? So it's both your turn and your opponent's turn. Cool. The core rules and General's Handbook both contain a Citadel terrain list, which includes a list of terrain features old and new, with associated terrain types, size, and the number of pieces each feature should consist of. Combined with the optional terrain maps for each battle plan, see how they say optional? These rules ensure that you know exactly what your warriors are standing on and fighting over in each battle. So let's look here. Right, so I was kind of looking for this on the side here a little bit. So here's a battle plan, the Vice. Right, and so here it says right here, right? It's like you have obscuring terrain, medium in size, that it's on the far left and the right. You have terrain or obstacles that are sort of in the center. You have these places of power that are also in the center. And on the outside, you have terrain or obstacles that are small on the outside. Let's see, what's this? Terrain type, faction terrain, scenery piece size, small, medium. I don't really know what this is supposed to be. Obscuring terrain 1 to 3, small to large. I don't really understand what that's supposed to be. Unlike faction terrain, which can be targeted and destroyed, regular scenery pieces are indestructible, so you will always have to factor them in as you maneuver around the battlefield while you contend for objectives. That's good. It would be bad if we could just blow up terrain. That would be bad. That would be really bad. Really bad. They're like, Gargants would just be like, well, I smashed the thing and moved through and then come and get you. Like, it's dumb. You need terrain to be kind of like immovable. There may be some cases where a unit has barricaded themselves upon a terrain feature to secure line of sight with their ranged weapons, or simply to provoke the enemy with taunts. We're looking at the Gloom Spike Gets here. Even if there is no room for your units to get up there too, you will still be able to charge so long as you end within half an inch of the terrain feature instead. Right, so here's kind of the example. It's like this Mega Gargant charges the terrain feature, and even though this cannon is way up here, the Gargant can still fight into this terrain feature. Tomorrow we'll be taking a brief detour into the mortal realms themselves with a fantastic primer on how the regular folks in the Age of Sigmar understand the bizarre cosmology that they live within. And next week we'll be revealing absolutely everything that comes in the launch box at the Mortal Realms Reforged event broadcast from the US Open at Dallas, Texas. Interesting. So, I mean, like, I don't know. It's fine. Overall, it's like the terrain. It's like, okay. Right? Like, it's fine. It's nothing mind-blowing. It's nothing... It's better. It's cleaner. It's going to be an improvement, I think. But nothing here is, like, getting me excited, if that makes sense. It's like, whatever. Sure. The terrain's going to be a little bit clearer and a little bit better to understand. And I think that these keywords, right? I think that these keywords are going to kind of matter. And I think that if you're at home thinking right now about like what kind of terrain you should get or like what your table's going to look like, I think that you need to start thinking about what rules your different terrain pieces have, so that when you put them on the table, if you're going to follow these battle plans, like if you're practicing for tournament play or something, right? That you can actually put the proper terrain pieces onto the battlefield. I think that that's going to matter. So I think it's a good thing overall, but it's going to be a little bit annoying for those of us that like to set up tables in our homes. But yeah, overall, positive direction, positive improvement. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Join the Discord. Trying to get 10 patrons by the end of the summer. So is that going to be you? I need 8 more. Is that going to be you? Like, subscribe. Wow.